Alrighty, well, I've been working on this video for about a week, and literally yesterday, 4/16/2023, Battlestate Games decided to reduce the vertical recoil of all weapons by 15%, which is quite a substantial buff for every weapon in the game. Some weapons it buffs more than others based on the initial recoil of the weapon because it's a percentage-based change. So what that means is the information in this video and my previous videos is now outdated. This is the second time this wipe that this has happened to me. When they changed the recoil earlier this wipe, I had to scrap the video I was working on and redo it, which is the 556 video. And now my 556, 545, and 762x51 videos are outdated. That being said, for the 545, I think most of that information is still relatively accurate because those weapons all have a similar fire rate. However, for the 556 category, weapons like the HK have probably just gone up a tier. So I believe I put the HK 416 in B tier. I believe it's probably now A tier. And weapons with a slower fire rate, like the Scar L, for example, that might move down from A tier now down to B tier, because weapons with a lower fire rate are now less valuable in the category. The reason why the Scar L might be moved to a lower tier, it's not because the Scar L got worse, it actually got better, but it's not better in comparison to the weapons that fire faster and still accurately. Because if you have a gun that fires 600 RPM and a gun that fires 850 RPM, and both of them don't have recoil, the 850 is a clearly better weapon. It just depends on the recoil. And now that the recoil has been reduced, I believe like the HK416 has gotten a whole lot better, and weapons like the Scar L have gotten a little bit worse in comparison to the faster firing weapons like the M4 and the HK416. Anyways, so this video is outdated, but I'm still going to be releasing it because a lot of work and effort went into this one. I don't know if I'm going to redo this video and the others, but if I am going to do that, it'll probably be next wipe or another wipe. I don't think I'm going to do it this wipe. As far as, where we are going forward, next up I'm going to be doing 762x39, and this will be with the effect of the 15% vertical recoil reduced. So far, I think the 762x39 category, here you see I have the weapons purchased and built. In general, I feel like this category is pretty straightforward. Although not straightforward in the way that I was thinking, but it is still pretty straightforward. As I've already bought and built the weapons for the next video, we're just gonna move on, and yeah, that's that, I guess. Here is my tier list for the DMRs and battle rifles that shoot 762x51 NATO. This will not include the bolt actions, as they will be a separate project. The honorable mentions in this category is the SVDS in 762x54R, the MK18 in 338, and the Ash 12 in whatever it shoots. Just kidding, it shoots 50 cal, 12.7 by 55. Here are the weapons purchased and built. In some cases, we have multiple of the same weapon to test different builds back-to-back. And this time, back-to-back testing was extremely valuable to help me evaluate and reevaluate what I think I know about these weapons. Because I've used these in live raids across multiple wipes a lot. So the back-to-back testing helped me figure out where are these weapons in the current version of the game. How do they feel? How do they perform in patch 0.13? Lastly, this is one of my favorite calibers in the game. These are some of my favorite guns in the game, but an important thing to understand about them is this is kind of an end game caliber, and these are kind of end game guns. So until you get M80 from Peacekeeper level 4, I don't think there's a real reason to use any of these until you get M80 unlocked. M80 is, like, in my opinion, the base minimum ammo for using any of these weapons. Now, I believe recently they buffed BCP FMJ, so If you're really excited about using some of these weapons, because they're great and they're really fun, you can use BCP FMJ, which will be available on Skier level 2, and also Jaeger level 2. Again, my personal feeling is if you're going to use any of these guns, the minimum ammo would be M80 from Peacekeeper level 4. If you really want to use some of these weapons and you don't have M80 unlocked, you can use BCP FMJ from Skier level 2 and Jaeger level 2. So with that said, let's start talking about our list. Starting with the VPO 101, otherwise known as the Vepr-Hunter. This weapon has very low ergonomics. Just take the suppressor off. It has very high recoil. Just get good. And it's not one of the better guns in this category. Skill issue, Omega lol. Alright, Twitch chat, I'm gonna need you to calm down, okay? We have very important things to discuss. So back to what I was saying. This weapon has very low ergonomics. It has a lot of recoil. And the biggest magazines you can put on it are 10 rounders, which is not good. That's not good. That's a very small. Twitch chat, you know about very small, okay? And it also overheats very quickly. So kind of funny about this gun, this suppressor, you can't actually buy it from traders. There is a barter trade with Skier to get the suppressor. But you can buy it off the flea market from another player for usually a reasonable price. Also, fun fact about the VPO 101, if you change the, dove mount, you can mount a flashlight on it. Check this out. Boom. Your VPO has a flashlight. It's, kind of hard to look at, but you can do it. Anyways, the VPO 101, it's not very good. It is going into F rank. Why is the streamer arguing with themselves? And this isn't even a stream. This is a video. What's even happening right now? The SR25. Now we're talking. This is potentially the best or one of the best guns in the category. The SR25 is comparable to the RSASS. However, the critical difference between the two is that the SR25 excels in ergonomics. So it is very nice to aim, it is very snappy, it feels very good with tapping, it feels pretty flat. The RSASS, in comparison, excels at recoil control. So the RSASS, it's really powerful when you need to fire 3, 5, 20 rounds at some poor target. However, the RSASS is not the best for tapping. It is a bit slow to aim in, and I feel like it has a little bit of a bounce when tapping. Now, you can change the barrel length on the SR25 to make it more similar to the RSASS, and doing this actually does make a little bit of sense, because it's not that expensive of a modification, especially when you consider selling the original barrel back to the trader. But for me personally, I just don't like it. I feel like if I'm going to go with an SR25, I'm going to go with the default barrel on it. If you like the long barrel SR25, that's great. I don't personally like it. I think when the gun model is in your character's hands that it looks a little bit weird, and I don't like the way that it recoils when you're shooting at something. The way it bounces from the recoil is something about it's just weird to me. I just don't like it. That being said, factually speaking, if you want to tighten the spread of the bullets and make the weapon have better recoil, going to the longer barrel is a good option. But I'm going to stick to the short barrel SR25 because that is my favorite. Long story long, the SR25 is fantastic. It's one of my favorite guns in the whole entire game. It's extremely good. It's been good pretty much every wipe. I hope it continues to be good every wipe. It's a fantastic DMR. The SR25 absolutely goes into S rank. Try it, use it. It's a great gun. It has fantastic ergonomics. It's really snappy to use. It feels nice. It's a good time. It's a good time. Try it out. I've got a great idea for an anime. Let's say there's this girl, right, with big giant honka donka bonka balunga dongas. Okay? The problem is now there's a transfer student, right? And she's got even bigger honka-donka balunga-donga bongas. That transfer student is the RSASS. This wipe, I have been absolutely loving this gun. Ever since the recoil changes that they did this wipe, this gun has felt so good. It felt great before, don't get me wrong, but now it just feels so good. It's like, it feels so effortless to fire just 20 rounds in a, like, super fast spam spray, like, directly on target. Like, check this out. Now, don't get me wrong, I still love SR25 Chan, okay? But in the world of recoil, there is nothing shooting 7.62 by 51 that feels like the RSASS. The RSASS just feels on a whole nother level in terms of recoil control. Now, you can put a shorter barrel on the RSASS, as I'm demonstrating here on screen. We got the Ergo RSASS on the left. We have the big boy Chad Cannon RSASS on the right. I actually used to be quite fond of the Ergo RSASS, as I call it. I used to think that it was quite a pretty nice build. However, in the current version of the game, I don't think the short barrel RSASS makes a lot of sense, and I don't think it's very necessary. Because when you buy the RSASS, it comes with the long barrel. So it's an additional cost to get the short barrel. Granted, you can get some of the money back by selling the other barrel back to the trader. However, I don't think the short barrel RSASS is really that good in this current version of the game. Here's a spam with it. It's basically like still a bad Ergo, slightly better recoil SR25, so it seems kind of just pointless. The RSASS, straight into S rank. I have a newfound appreciation for this weapon after this wipe. This has become one of my favorites, and one thing to talk about is there really a reason, like, should you use the RSASS 100% of the time, or should you use the SR25 100% of the time? I think I use both of them maybe like 50-50. Obviously, I use a whole bunch of other weapons in the game too, but like, here's what I think in terms of when I'm setting up a kit for deploying to a map. If I'm going to a map like Woods, Shoreline, or Lighthouse in order, like let's say I'm fighting rogues, I would prefer to take the SR25 because mainly what I'm going to be doing is long-range one-tap shots. Now, the RSASS has better MOA, that's true, but the SR25 has better handling, so I, as a player, I choose to use it in situations where I'm going to be fighting a target over distance. Whereas with the RSASS, I would rather take it to maps like Reserve, Streets, Factory even, maps where I know close-range combat is going to happen, like down in the Reserve bunker or in Streets in like literally any building. Factory obviously is a small map. Basically, any map where close-range combat is going to happen, I want to have the spam ability of the RSASS to know that if I'm caught off guard or if I'm fighting two players in close range, I can just spam with confidence and I know my shots are going to hit. As far as maps like Customs and Interchange, honestly, both of them would be fine for those kind of maps because the thing is, regardless of which one you choose to go with, they both are very strong and their strengths overlap in large areas. It's just the SR25, its greatest strength is its ergonomics, and the RSASS's greatest strength is its recoil. But that being said, both weapons are extremely capable in long, medium, and short ranges. So on maps like Interchange or Customs, honestly, both weapons would be fine. Well, basically on any map, both of these weapons would be fine. It's just in terms of pairing the weapon's strength with the way the maps are designed, these are the kinds of things that I think about. The HK-G28. With this weapon, I have one question. When's the 417 being added? Is it next wipe? Is it coming soon? Where is it at? I guess we have to talk about this thing instead. Okay, the HKG-28. It makes a really annoying sound when you pull it out. When you're equipping the weapon, or okay, you know, when you talk to a duffel bag, when you're looting a duffel bag, you put your weapon away and then you your weapon out. It makes a noise. I don't like the noise, okay? I don't like it. It's annoying. Now you won't be able to unhear it either. I truly am a super villain. She can't keep getting away with this. But as far as the gun, like, how does the gun handle? How does the gun feel? Well, as the children say, it's pretty mid. Now, for the rest of us, that doesn't actually mean anything. So let me translate that from zoomer to boomer, okay? This is a worse SR25, and that's a problem because this is more expensive. So the couple things about this gun is, like, if you buy it from the trader, it's going to come with a mediocre suppressor, bad foregrip, and it comes with 2 optics on it, a red dot and a scopey scope. You can take those things off and sell them to get some of the money of the weapon back, but even when you do that, the weapon is still more expensive. Meanwhile, on the other side, you have SR25-chan making a home-cooked meal while you're out just messing around with some high-maintenance HK. How could you do that to SR25-chan, you know? It's messed up, dude. However, if you factor the cost out, like, for example, let's say you're looting a marked room and you find one of these in a marked room, you should be pretty happy because that's a free gun and you can sell all of the attachments for it. So, because you can sell the attachments, that's a really good way to find this gun. If you can find it in raid, it's awesome. Anyways, overall, the HKG-28, it is too expensive for its performance. It's basically a worse SR25. It has more vertical recoil and a lot more horizontal recoil. And you can really feel that when you're shooting it. So the HK-G28, I was going to rank this higher. This is why back-to-back testing was so incredibly important. This is actually going to go into B tier. And I'm glad I took the time to test it and review it and think about it because I would have placed it higher. So, the SR25, the RSASS, and the G28, they're all great, but what if you need to last longer? Introducing a new product, the M1A. While those other guys only have 20 rounds, you can have 30. Or, what about 50? How does 50 rounds sound? Pretty good, right? The M1A is absolutely baller. I love this gun. I've always loved this gun. Spoiler alert, this is an A rank. I'm putting it in A rank. The reasons why is because it feels a bit sloppier when compared to the SR25 and the RSASS. However, it does have 30 round and 50 round mags. It's got a drum. It's got a drum magazine. Bruh. Honestly, I wouldn't go for the drum because I feel like it hurts the ergonomics of the weapon quite a bit too much. So I think the 30 rounders are like the sweet spot between more capacity and still having the ergo to perform. Now, there are a couple of really important things about the M1A we need to talk about in terms of having it perform the way that we want it to. There are 2 different barrel lengths for the M1A, a 16-inch barrel and a 22-inch barrel. The 16-inch barrel is completely unusable because you cannot mount any good recoil-reducing suppressors to it. So in order to make an M1A actually good, you cannot use the 16-inch barrel. And the 22-inch barrel is unlocked at mechanic level 3. Additionally, the M1A has 4 different chassis options, but the SASS chassis, the SASS chassis, is the only one that's worth using, and you can't mount to it a Nora Arms Grawl S pistol grip, so you have to do an AR-15 F1 firearms skeletonized style 2 PC pistol grip. That is the best in slot grip for the M1A, and it is found in raid only. You cannot get it from the traders, either in the form of you can't buy it and you can't barter trade for it. So there are a lot of builds you can do for the M1A, but there's only one good build. You need the SVDS chassis and you need the 22-inch barrel. If you can get both of those things, you can build a decent M1A. So with all of that in mind, that the weapon is a bit more sloppy in terms of its performance and handling, it has certain requirements for barrel and chassis that have to be met in order to have a decent build. The M1A is still going into A rank. Overall, it still performs very well, and you can have a larger than 20 round magazine. You can have a 30 round magazine, which is what I recommend, or you can have a 50 round magazine, which I think will hurt the ergonomics of the weapon, but it's up to you. Let's say you're looking at that M1A and you're saying, I like them 30 rounders, but I'm a CEO on the come up, you know what I'm saying? I can't be running M1As every single raid. What else you got? Have I got the perfect budget weapon for you? It's called the RFB. Now, it might be missing luxuries, like, for example, a flashlight or laser. You literally can't mount a flashlight to this gun. But it does have 30-round magazines, or if you want, you can put in a pretty good ergonomic 20-round magazine. However, funny, this shares magazines with the SA-58, but the SA-58 has a 50-round magazine, which you cannot put into the RFB, so that's kind of interesting. As far as the handling characteristics of the RFB, it has pretty strong recoil. Obviously not as bad as the VPO 101, but this is probably one of the worst recoils in the category for semi-autos. This is not a very good weapon for spamming. However, it does still shoot 7.62x51, so it's still a very effective weapon shooting, big boy bullets. As far as the weapon being a budget proposition, it is very cheap to buy and build, so it's not the greatest performance, but you do get a great weapon for the price. And right now, you see it's available from Skier for $55,000. You can often purchase it even cheaper from other players. For the sake of context, paying around $200,000 to build one of these weapons, that's like 60% of the price of like an SR25, RSASS, or M1A. And to be clear, you don't have to build it like this. You can definitely build it with cheaper parts, and honestly, that's probably more preferred. It's just for my testing, I wanted to test it in like the best build that I could do for it. One thing about the RFB that drives me wild is you cannot chamber check it. So often when I am fidgeting with my weapons, either, checking the mag or checking the fire select, sometimes recently I've been putting into checking the chamber. As I will demonstrate here with the G28, you hit the keybind and you can do a chamber check. With the RFB, as I will demonstrate, or I guess not demonstrate, you hit the chamber check and nothing happens. So that actually drives me wild when I'm in raid, because I'll be doing my thing fidgeting with the weapon and I'll press the keybind and nothing will happen. And I'll think like my keyboard is broken or like my keybinds aren't working or something. And it's just, you literally cannot chamber check the RFB. I'm not sure why exactly. Maybe there's a real life reason, but you can't in game. I don't really know why. So with the positives and negatives of the RFB being that it is cheap, but it's not the best performing, I think the RFB deserves to be in C tier because it is a good representation of what I think is the kind of like not well performing, but not bad either. So just kind of like chilling in the middle. I think it's the best example of a chillin' in the middle semi-auto for this category, because a lot of the guns in here, they are really good. So this is one of the ones where I think I can put it at C tier, and that's where it accurately should be. Great budget gun, not the greatest endgame gun. The SA-58. This is a full auto that you can put a 30 round and 50 round magazine into. However, you probably shouldn't. At one point in time, this was one of the best guns in the game, but it was nerfed into the realm of being unusable for multiple wipes. With this recoil patch this time around, it has become more on the borderline between usable and unusable. It's still really bad. It's a gun with really interesting animations. It's got really good sound, like the bolt release and stuff. It just sounds really good. However, the gun has harsh recoil, and it's only made worse by the fact that it has a fast fire rate of 700. Also, there's no real point to switch the weapon to semi-auto to try and fix this, because this is a bad semi-auto when compared to other stuff in this category. So if you want a semi-auto SA-58, why not just get an SR-25? So here is what used to be my favorite build. It is a medium barrel build that does take advantage of the 30 round magazine. This next build, this is what I think is the best build currently for the SA-58 in the current version of the game. You at least have some ergonomics and some recoil, but like, it's not good ergo and it's not good recoil. And here is the zero ergonomics build, which proves that you don't need to be a better shot, you just need to shoot more bullets. It's a total meme build, but if you want the best recoil you can get with this thing, this is the way you would build it. There is also a loud build, but I don't necessarily recommend that because the SA-58 is similar to the SVD in the fact that it's extremely loud and people can hear you from everywhere in the map. So the SA-58, in general, I think this is a weapon that is in F rank because it desperately needs a buff to be improved. I would like to see this gun in between the MDR and the SCAR, so meaning around somewhere near B rank. I want the recoil of this thing to be worse than the SCAR, because you have the larger magazines for more capacity. So if it was worse recoil but large capacity and still usable recoil, that'd probably be where the gun should be in terms of the game. However, right now the recoil is absolutely ridiculous to the point where the gun is again unusable, on the borderline of usable, kind of in a bad spot. So I'm putting the SA-58 into F tier. However, you could argue that it should be an E tier. E tier, F tier, it's still not good. It needs a buff. This gun needs some love. It's a really fun and cool weapon with great animations, great sounds, but it's just not in a good state right now in the current version of the game. Lastly, the SA-58 looks really cool with the shortest barrel, the 11-inch, but its performance is really poor. Alright, well, back to the land of 20-round magazines. The MDR in 7.62 by 51. This was my favorite gun for when I was doing kill-farming. So, my first wipe ever, I went for the 100 kills, and this was my go-to gun for that. So how does this gun feel in today's version of the game? Well, in general, it feels pretty meh. This weapon went from being very good to being not good to then this wipe, it's okay now. It's still not good, but it's okay. That being said, this has relatively high ergonomics. I usually don't run it this way with the SE5 grip. I usually throw an RK2 on there, it's a big ergo penalty, but it's better for recoil. I usually run the gun like this. I think this is probably a better build for it because the fact that it has the ergo to spare, it's okay. The MDR is it's just okay. It's not anything special. It has a medium recoil amount. It has an RPM of 650, so that's not too uncontrollable. So where does the MDR go? Well, I think it's a good representation of the average, at least for full auto in this category. So this is going into C tier, because it's not good, it's not bad, it's just kind of okay, I guess. The Scar H. This is one of my favorite in the category, and this is my favorite full auto. So it has a fire rate of 600, which is the lowest in the category, and that makes it easier to control than the other weapons. To quickly say, the Scar H, it comes in an FDE version and then the normal version. Whichever one you pick, these are the same guns. However, from Peacekeeper, the tan one comes with the medium barrel, so that's why I'm representing it with the medium barrel. And the one with the black finish comes with a 20-inch barrel, so I'm representing that with a 20-inch. That being said, the Scar H has 3 different barrels, and you can switch them out. So if we make the black finish Scar a medium barrel, you will see that they have the same stats. So here it is. Now I will make it hide very quickly so that you cannot actually read. Well, I mean, what do you need to see? Ergo is 45 for both. Vertical recoil is 80 for both. Horizontal recoil 188 for both. Okay, we get it. And if you change the medium barrel on the FDE to the 20-inch barrel, they will have the same stats once again. Alright, so there it is. When you give them both the long barrel, they both have an ergo of 36, both have a vertical recoil of 70, horizontal recoil of 165. So for all intents and purposes, the Scar in the black finish or the Scar FDE in the tan finish, they are the same gun, except for, you know, the paint finish. The last barrel to talk about is the short barrel, which is the 13-inch one. I don't think there's much of a reason to use this other than it looks really cool, in my opinion, because on the medium barrel and the long barrel, you have this part here, which you can add, and this part gives +5 ergonomics. So that kind of balances out the ergo. So with this part removed, you can see it's 41 ergo versus 47. So that is numbers. However, once you put this guy, and this guy doesn't go on the short one. This guy only goes on the medium and the long. And once you do that, it's an ergo of 45 versus 47, which +2 ergo is really not that big of a deal, especially when you're trading off 7 vertical recoil and 205 minus 188, 5, 7, 119, no, 17 horizontal recoil. Yeah, 17. So I think the short barrel looks cool, but there's not really any real reason to use it, especially since the guns come with the medium barrel and the long barrel, so if they already come with it, it's not worth the additional cost to downgrade the weapon. However, if you're going to streets or something, maybe the CQB Scar H is the way for you. Lastly, the Scar H has a very annoying view model, so when you're running an EOTech like this, it's not really any kind of problem. But once you put an LPVO on it, it feels very in your face and it's very claustrophobic. If you require more zoom, which you probably will need with a 7.62x51, I would recommend using the Bravo, because basically any LPVO like the Voodoo or the Razor, they take up too much real estate on your screen. So the Scar H, it's really good. I like it a lot. It's going into A tier, and it is the best full auto in this category as far as recoil control, and I definitely recommend the 20-inch barrel on it for sure. Now we begin the honorable mentions, starting with the SVDS in 7.62x54R. This weapon has very low ergonomics, pretty strong recoil, and you have to use it for the quest The Punisher. or one of the Punisher quests. So thinking about the SVDS, I think about how does it compare to the RFB? Well, the SVDS is more expensive, worse ergonomically, and worse with recoil. I think this weapon should be in D tier because it seems worse than the RFB. What I would love to see happen with this weapon is if the ergonomics of it was increased, and then we got like an actual SVD, like with the wooden handle and the wooden stock. If that was added to the game and that was the low ergo version, I think that would be really sweet. But yeah, as it stands, SVDS into D tier, not very good even when it's fully built. And lastly, the weapon is extremely loud. If you have the weapon unsuppressed, think about like Sturman on Woods, right? You can hear him throughout the whole entire map when it's unsuppressed. The SVDS, even when it is suppressed, it's still extremely loud, so you definitely want to suppress it, and if you do that, you're pretty much guaranteed to have low ergonomics. The MK18. This is both an S rank and an F rank weapon, depending on the situation. Now, I know that's very dramatic, but hear me out. This is a weapon that, like, when you're shooting targets who have level 4 armor, this is an amazing weapon because you can one-shot to the thorax with FMJ ammo. However, if you encounter any kind of opposition, scav boss, rogue, player, who has level 5 armor or better, then this gun is almost completely useless. Because it's basically a DMR, but like extremely low ergo. This weapon becomes S tier when you can one-tap people to the thorax. When you need multiple shots to the thorax to take your opponent down, this weapon just completely falls apart because of the low ergonomics. Hitting multiple shots in a row with this weapon can be very challenging, at least a lot more challenging than the SR25 and RSASS and other comparable DMRs. Yo, where this dude at? I don't see him. Oh, there he at. Boom! Hit him with the one tap. Running through here, I don't see nobody. Oh! Boom! Gotcha. I hit you with that sneaky beaky, you know what I'm saying? Chill, chill, chill. You looking silly now. What you thinking? Yeah, I got something for you. I got something for you over there. What your friend? Your friend wants something? I got something for your friend too. Oh, not this guy again. Yo, I'm gonna get you. I got my one-shot cannon. He's behind the wall. Okay, I go around this way. Gotta get that angle. Okay, the angle was bad. The angle's bad. We don't like that angle. What you doing? Oh, he's healing. Yo, I got... You're done, boy. You're done. I got you. You're done, man. Peek again. Okay, we're out of ammo. Gotta reload. Oh, he's coming. Oh, boy, he coming. Oh, get him, get him. All right, we're out of here. We out of here. Okay. I'm out, dude. I'm out. Scavs, nah, you can have the loot. You can have the loot, man. I'm out. Okay, we hit him with the thorax. 10 hits. Yo, it took 10 hits. Because he had that level 6 on. Okay. Anyways, the MK18 is extremely fun to use. It has several really strong advantages, like the 338 round is extremely powerful at long distances, and it doesn't have a lot of bullet drop, so it's a very effective sniping round. Overall, I think this gun should go into B rank because when I was sniping with bolt actions, I was using the AXMC, and the fact that that fires a 338 round made it an unbelievably better weapon than pretty much every other bolt action in the game. So when I inevitably unlock this from killing Sturman 100 million times, I'd like to test this out as a long-distance sniper DMR, and I think as a long-distance weapon, this thing is going to be just unbelievable, because I had a lot of success and a lot of fun using the bolt action 338. So I can only imagine the semi-auto 338 will be just that much better of an experience. However, in any kind of close quarters battle or a battle with 2 or more players, this gun will probably let you down massively, because taking out 2 targets who have better armor than... Taking out 2 targets who have level 5 or 6 armor with 1 magazine is going to be quite a challenge. Anyways, it's a really interesting weapon. It's locked behind killing Sturman a million times. I think they reduced it this wipe. Not a lot of people are going to use this weapon, but if you're ever curious about it, it's not the most amazing weapon in the game, but it is a very fun weapon. And if you can put AP ammo in it, it's absolutely bonkers. But chances are people usually only have FMJ. So FMJ, it's still good, but it's not the best. It's not really that great. The Ash 12. This guy shoots 50 cal. That's right. When you convert 12.7 metric into freedom, that's 50 cal, baby. The Ash 12 has never been a good gun, but it has been a fun gun. It's a very effective close quarters weapon. Any kind of distance, this thing is not good at all, because all the ammos for it have very low velocity. So this is not any kind of distance weapon. This is a very up close and personal weapon. When you're shooting it, the way the shells fall out and land on the ground, it just sounds so cool. You feel like you're like the Terminator or something. It's such a fun gun. You get to be like the Terminator of Timmies. And yes, one of the fun and exciting things about the Ash 12 is, with the right ammo, it can one-tap to the thorax through level 4 armor and below. And therein lies the biggest problem with the Ash 12, and that is getting the right ammo for it. There are 3 types of ammo for the Ash 12, and the only one that's worth using is PS12B, which is now craft only. Before, you could buy this from the trader in ludicrous amounts. I think you could buy like 300 every reset. And now the only way that you can get this ammo is by crafting it. And the craft only gives you 80 rounds per craft. It's not a very good one. Yeah, see, 80 rounds per craft. And to be clear, this is a craft that is absolutely not worth doing over 7.62 by 39 BP. I'm only doing this craft because I want to have ammo for when I use this weapon, and I want to level up the weapon mastery with it. Earlier this wipe, I tried to run the Ash 12 with PS12A ammo, and I ran into a team of 3 and was able to come out victorious. And then I ran into a team of 2 in that exact same raid, and they got me. And then at the end of the raid screen, I checked the stats. I had 1,000 damage to players, and I had 1,600 armor damage, with the score screen telling me that there was 18 registered hits. So that was very, very bad. That ammo definitely got me killed. The Ash 12 desperately needs PS12B the same way I desperately need 2B fan art. Okay? So basically, if you don't have PS12B, you should not be using the Ash 12. This gun is only usable with this ammo. With the other ammos, you could technically go for a leg meta, but I would not recommend it because this thing's recoil is wild. The Ash 12 is going into D tier. The Ash 12 is going into E tier. It's not the most terrible weapon. However, the biggest issue with it is the availability of the ammo. The fact that you can only get 80 of the good ammo at a time per craft is really not good, and you absolutely need the good ammo enabled in order to run the Ash 12. Without it, there's really no point of using the weapon. And then if you die with all the ammo in your mags and stuff, you're gonna have to do like another few crafting cycles to have enough ammo to deploy with it again. It's really just in a bad state because of the ammo. The gun itself, however, is completely incapable at any kind of longer distances. Up close and personal, it's a devastating weapon with the ability to one-tap through level 4 armor with the right ammo. Alright, I think that concludes the list. Yeah. Sweet. Job done.